Hi everyone, welcome back to our Maine Homestead. Today is all about finishing up the root cellar. So I'll give you a quick look at the outer two walls, which are now finished, and then we'll go inside and take a look at the inner walls. So this is the end log wall on the outside. Logs all the way up to the roof there, and I angle cut them as the roof slopes downward. And then this is the back wall, which goes all the way up to the rafters there. And I ended up, hopefully you can see that, yeah, I ended up putting 1x siding in between the rafters just at the very top, just to close that space in. That will be above where the roof of the root cellar is, and I'll show you that when we go inside. You can see I actually notched this top log where the rafters come in, so it would slide up and be flush against the building. So I went ahead and built an outer door there. You can see in the bottom left corner of the door, that's where the cold air vent goes into the building and then down into the floor of the root cellar. And then I have a window that I built above the door just to allow some cross ventilation. There's a window opposite that on the other end of the building. So I'm going to open this door up so hopefully there's enough light for you to see what's going on inside the root cellar. So that's one of the walls for the root cellar. So once I got the final rock wall built, then I started building up the logs for the walls, and they're nailed into each post. So as each end comes up, I would nail it into that post, and of course on each end of each log, and just to add some extra security to help keep it in place. This far end wall, which is an outer wall, obviously I put the logs up above where the ceiling will be. The ceiling will be about 6 feet, and it will be at the tops of these two side walls. And again, that's an outer back wall, and there's 2-inch foam board in between the outer and the inner walls on the outer two walls of the root cellar. I will eventually put chinking. I'm going to use sphagnum moss. I've got plenty of it here on the property, but I'm going to use it to fill the gaps. I'm more concerned mainly about doing that on the inner two walls, but I'm in no hurry. It's still August, so it's no reason to worry about closing it up yet. But by winter time, I plan on having it all chinked to close in all of those gaps. So what's left as far as the walls go are the two short walls that go on either side of the door. So that's the door frame there. And so there's a course of logs that go up on either side up to the top. And then that's just a 2x2 that goes across the top of where the door will be. Once I get these logs built up, then I will put a larger log across the top. I'll remove that 2x2, and there will be actually a log that rests on the two logs that are at the top on either side of the door. And then that's where I left an opening to create the warm air, or the high vent, to allow the warm air to rise in the cellar and to exit the cellar up at the top. So I'll frame that in when I get to that point. The ceiling, so that's the height of the ceiling, that top wall. This is just a log here that's representative of the ceiling, but the ceiling will actually be higher as you come in the door, just to allow some headroom up to the top of the rafters there. And then it will drop down here. So I'll have some shorter logs that go up to support it, and then the ceiling will come straight down here, and then be logs that are stacked all the way across down the full length. And I haven't decided yet. I'm going to start with one course of logs along for the ceiling, but I may end up putting some extra smaller logs just to close in some of the gaps before I chink it. I haven't decided yet, but we'll see how that goes. So these are a few of the logs that I've cut for the ceiling. So I'm ready to start placing those and kind of working my way toward the door and getting to where I can build out the elevation to clear for the headroom and finish it up. So all that's left to close it in then will be a door. I plan on using 2x6s, 2 layers, placed at 90-degree angles to each other. That'll give me a 4-inch thick door. I'll show you kind of how I plan on doing that. But a 4-inch thick door should give me enough insulation to help maintain the proper temperatures there. So I've gotten the logs on either side of the doorway as high as I can take them. Obviously they're not level at the top, but the top of the doorway is going to be right along the top of these 2x6s here that frame in the door. So instead of trying to find logs that fit perfectly to make it even all the way across, which could take days literally, I'm going to take a log, bring it from this area here all the way over to this side, and cut out this section that goes over the door so that hopefully it rests pretty close to flat on this surface and this surface, and then is flat across the top where the doorway is, and then is relatively level along the top of the log. So here goes. So I picked this log, I cut it to length so that it should fit across that span. Then I marked the center line just with a Sharpie and used a long level to make a mark all the way down the center. And then from that center line I measured down and marked where the cutout is going to be. So you can see that's basically what the cutout. So the plan is to score it along these lines here, what is the outline of where it sits across the door opening, and then to make cuts every so often all along that space, and then try my best to chisel it out. I've never done this before, so we'll see how this works. So there's the top log fitted. Not perfect, but definitely functional. Now I'm going to start building the ceiling from that point toward the other end of the root cellar. So this is the top edge. This will be where the ceiling sits. These are some ceiling logs I just have placed there. That is about 6 feet. Obviously, when you come in the door, you're 2 feet higher. So there's the steps going into the door. So the plan is to make this ceiling come up to the top edge of the door, or just above the door, even with that top log that I just placed. Come across above the vent, of course, down beside this rafter, over, and then down to where I've placed these 2 logs. So I'll just build, you see I have a short log there. I'll put short logs here to support the ceiling as I go all the way up, and then I'll nail the top logs into that purlin back there and to this rafter right here. That's the plan anyway. Let's see how it goes. So this is what I came up with as far as the ceiling goes by the door. So I kind of stair-stepped. You can see this log, short log, and then a shorter log here, and then that one's just to fill in that gap. But over here, I went up a course of logs, then it came over on top of this and went up to where the actual top of the root cellar ceiling is, and then came across to meet up with the front of the root cellar. The challenging part here was how to affix the end of these logs because they're not actually resting on anything, something I didn't plan for very well. But I just nailed them into the bottom purlin for the roof, and they seem to be very stable. You can see that there's a lot of gaps, obviously working with logs, plenty of gaps. I'm going to come back and chink those with moss that I've collected from around the property. That's probably a wintertime project. Still got a lot to do before I'm totally ready for winter, so that's something that can happen later on. This is the outside of that roof section that is closest to the door. Again, that's just to allow headroom as you come into the door and step down the steps into the floor of the cellar. This gives you a little headroom before you get down totally into the cellar. But you can see how I just came across, dropped down here, and then over a little, and then dropped down to where the roof of the cellar goes. And I've already put all the logs in for the cellar. So I may put another course of logs in. You can see I've got a small log here. I may put a smaller one again on top of that. But all of this has to be chinked as well. But there you have it. Goes over, up, and over. And that's the roof of the cellar. And here's the log that I cut that out to put as far as the top of the door frame. So I built a door. I'm not sure it's finished yet, but I just used 2x6s, and then I put 3 2x6s across just for support. But it's a pretty solid door. It's 2 inches thick. I may put another layer of either 1x8s or 2x6s on the inside just to give it a little more thickness, but I'll probably wait and see how it performs overall before I decide to start doing any tweaks. So that's it as far as the structural part of the build goes. I've still got some fine tuning to do. I've got to put door stops around the door to kind of seal it up when it's closed. I want to limit as much leakage as possible as far as cold air coming from the cellar. Probably won't have to worry about that too much in the wintertime. Still got obviously chinking to do. Again, that'll be in the winter as well. And last but not least, shelving. I'm going to put shelving down each of the long walls with a center kind of walkway corridor walking into the cellar. And so shelving on each side for storage goes. And then that wasn't last. I've still got to close in my vents. They're still open now because the weather's perfect as far as letting the temps kind of stay where they should be in the cellar. But I've got to build the vent closures and put screening on that before winter really sets in. Other than that, I think we're done. Thanks for watching, guys. Give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you don't already, and leave us a comment or a question in the comment section. We'll get back to you. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.